What is going on YouTube? My name is Afsar Hussain, founder and CEO of officialcvdoctor.com. Link below, check it out. Follow me on social media, hit subscribe. Don't know if it's there or there, wherever it is, hit subscribe. Follow the channel. I'm going to be posting a lot of videos on interview help, questions, answers, career advice, particularly focusing on university students, because not so long ago I was in university, spent 4 years at an investment bank, Goldman Sachs, and now I want to kind of help out, give back, and give advice to students. Alright, let's go. Today we're going to be talking about the 10 top tips to building a very, very strong CV that will land you interviews, offers, and get you the jobs in the best organizations. Some of them are basic, some of them are less common, but overall, if you do these 10 things, your CV is going to be miles ahead of the competition. By implementing these top 10 tips, you're going to be able to secure the offers, secure the interviews, and get further in the application process. Now, top tip number 1. Structure is key. A good CV has a clear, concise, and easy to follow structure. A professional structure is the foundation of any good CV. Top tip number 2. No typos. Make sure your CV has 0 typos. Typos show a lack of attention to detail. Whether it's the hiring manager, the actual employee that you're going to be working with, they hate a lack of attention to detail. Always print out your CV and run through it with a red pen. And I've learned this over time. Every time I look on the screen at my CV, when I print it out, I always find 1 or 2 things mistakes that I couldn't see on the screen. So always a good check is to print out your CV and run through it with a red pen, and you're bound to identify a few mistakes. You'll be surprised at the amount of typos or grammatical errors that you come across. Tip number 3. Every line on your CV should serve a purpose. Now, a CV is very important. It's 1 or 2 pages that is meant to sell you to the employer. You cannot afford to waste a single line on useless information. That might sound harsh, but it's important. Recruiters receive thousands and thousands of CVs, right? And if you're looking to apply to the top firms, whether it's the top investment banks, top law firms, consultancy firms, marketing firms, whatever it may be, they are going to be receiving an inbound of thousands of applications, thousands of CVs. Now, when it comes to the recruitment process, whether it's the hiring manager, whether it's the recruitment team or the employee in the team that you're going to work with, they don't have time to look through every single CV that they receive. As a result, they spend about 30 seconds to a minute looking at each CV. That's why it's very important that your CV for investment banking, for example, is 1 page long. Other fields it might vary. Do not go over 2 pages, whatever you do. Keep your CV simple, to the point, easy to follow structure, and they're going to spend 30 seconds to a minute reading your CV. You want it to stand out within those 30 seconds. You want it to grab their attention, and you don't want it to be cluttered and so disorganized that they look at it and they throw it in the bin pile immediately. Any information on your CV that serves no purpose is taking up valuable space. Take it out. Tip number 4. Ask yourself, so what? At the end of every bullet point, ask yourself, so what? What does that mean? Why is that beneficial? What does that tell me about myself? Because that's what the recruiter is going to be doing. At the end of every bullet point, they want to ask themselves, okay, so what? You did some filing. So what? What does that mean? What was the result? What was the outcome? What did you learn from it? These are key bits of information that the top candidates are doing in their CVs. So it's important for you to do the same. Remember, you're trying to sell yourself. This brings me on to tip number 5. If you're applying to investment banking, which I did when I was at university, your CV for internships, insight weeks, spring weeks, what have you, should be no longer than 1 page long. Because traditionally, investment banks receive thousands, hundreds of thousands of applications. And so the people looking at the CV, as I mentioned before, don't have time to go over pages. 1 page is enough. Keep it short, succinct, to the point, as mentioned before. I stress these points because it's so important, and try and grab the reader's attention as soon as possible. The best way to do that is by having a clear structure, not too much information on the page. Use a font 10, don't use a 9, it's too small, don't go too big, 12. 10, 11 is a good font size to fit in as much information as you need into 1 page, so definitely do that. You can risk it and have a 2-page CV, but I would say put the most important information on the first page, because it's very rare that the second page gets any attention at all. If you're applying for different industries that might not be as popular or in high demand from graduates, such as investment banking or law, by all means use a 2-page CV. 3-page CVs and beyond tend to be the norm for more experienced professionals, so someone that's been in the industry for a few years and they're looking to move to a lateral position in a different organization or different industry. But for graduates, definitely try and keep it to 1 page, no more than 2 pages. That brings me on to tip number 6, extracurricular activities. Now, in terms of laying out your CV, a good way to do it is, if we're going for a 1-page CV, at the top have your education, don't take up too much space, about 20% of the page. Education, the degree you're studying, predicted grade. You don't need to list your modules. That's taking up valuable space. Nowadays, most roles, if it's not very technical or specific niche role, a lot of roles, they encourage applicants from different degree disciplines, and it's not really important to put the modules that you studied, unless you're going for a very, very niche technical role that's relevant to your degree. Now, at the top you have your education, your university degree, what you're studying, and then your A-levels, and then your GCSEs. Below that, make sure you have the separation lines. Below your education, you're going to have your relevant experience, so work experience, regardless of whether it's paid or voluntary. Put the relevant experience to the role you're applying for in the body. Then below that, you can have other positions of responsibility and extracurricular activities. Now this is where point 6 comes in, extracurricular activities. Now, employers, as I'm sure you're aware, they don't want to hire robots. They don't just want to hire people that are A-star students but do nothing else. Show them what you do outside of academia and through your extracurricular activities. So in this section of your CV, include the sports societies you're involved in, any alternative societies you're involved in, any voluntary work you do, any businesses you run outside of school or outside of university. You want to stand out by differentiating yourself. So nowadays, believe it or not, I'm sure you're aware, every student seems to have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, has gone to space, has done XYZ. So it's really tricky to stand out in this day and age. But it's bare minimum to have a section on extracurricular activities to show that, you know, you're not just going to uni to study and that's all that you do. End of the day, the jobs you're applying for, the people that are working in these organizations, they have lives outside of work. And so the extracurricular activities and your hobbies and interests highlight you as an individual. They tell the reader or the employer a bit more about you as an individual. So it's very important to highlight some extracurricular activities. Tip number 7, results. Regardless of what industry you're going into, it's important to be able to produce results. Make sure you say what you did. So if you're putting a bullet point and you say, I organized an event for 70 people, don't just end it there. What was the outcome? Organized an event for 70 students. As a result, we had 35% increase in sign-ups year on year. Whatever it could be, you want to provide a result. Employers want to know what you did, what your responsibilities are, but more importantly, what was the outcome of the work that you carried out. Regardless of what industry or field you go into, it's likely that, you know, being able to create results is going to be beneficial in your role. Highlight key statistics and results in your previous experiences that display your contribution and what you achieved. So, for example, if you're ever providing an example, you can back it up by stating the result that was achieved. If I say I displayed my leadership skills through captaining the football team at university, I can back that up by saying, as a result, we won 3 championships, 3 tournaments, year on year. So I've given an example of a skill that I developed, which is leadership. I used an example or the experience, which was captaining the football team, and then at the end there's the result. We won 3 tournaments, year on year. Skill developed, example, result. This brings me on to point number 8, which is use bullet points for impact. The key to a strong CV is good bullet points. Good bullet points take a good CV and turn it into a great CV. When I say good bullet points, what do I mean? I mean bullet points that have a specific structure. State the skill that you developed, or start off with a powerful verb. Developed, enhanced, learnt, taught, networked. Use strong, powerful verbs to start off your bullet points. Then talk about the experience, or a skill that you developed. Developed communication skills. So I start off with a powerful verb, and then I talk about the skill that I developed, communication skills. Then I talk about how I did it through an example, by liaising with other colleagues within the business. And then I talk about a result. As a result, I was able to work more efficiently as a team member within the business. You might write, enhanced communication skills by working as part of a larger team. As a result, I was able to work efficiently and build strong relationships within the organization. Also, try not to let your bullet points extend to more than 3 lines. One bullet point should be 1 line in the CV. At most, it should be 2, so a long sentence. Top tip number 9. This is quite an important one, although most people don't give it any attention whatsoever. Keywords, powerful words in your CV. Use them. Use key action words and phrases within your CV. Nowadays, a lot of organizations and recruiters and companies are, believe it or not, using algorithms and computers to sift through CVs for an initial review. I don't want to say all organizations do this, but the ones that do, they also do use humans to look at your CVs. But what stands out, whether it's an algorithm or a human looking at your CV, there are certain keywords and phrases that stand out when used in a CV. These might be keywords such as motivated, hardworking, attention to detail, key phrases, attention to detail, keen eye for detail, great communicator, strong listening skills, interpersonal, X, Y, and Z. Good way to find out what the keywords are that are relevant for you. Go to the website where you're applying for the role, and that role is going to have a job description. In that job description, you're going to see so many keywords. Take some of those keywords and implement it into your CV, and immediately that will build a connection, it will resonate, and it will work. It will build a connection with the person that's looking at your CV. And it's just a little trick to use that not many people do, so definitely do it. Finally, last but not least, to wrap up, tip number 10 to make your CV stronger, better, and get you into more interviews, offers, and get the jobs that you want, is tease the employer. So what I mean by tease the employer is, don't give every single thing about you. You want to sell yourself on your CV, but don't give them everything. You want to tease them. Give them a lot of information, but keep them curious. Make them ask, I want to find out more about this candidate. Because the candidates that have the best CVs do something that's very unique in order to get them into interviews. And that is, they prompt the reader or the hiring manager or the employer to ask themselves, I'm curious about this individual. Let me invite them for an interview to find out more. A good CV will do that. So you want to tease the employer, give them enough information to think it will be worthwhile interviewing you to find out a bit more. Because at the end of the day, the organization that you're applying to, it's not a big decision for them to invite you into the interview. Because at the interview stage, it's kind of like make or break. They either like you or they don't, right? So your job with your CV is to get into the interview stage. And to do that, you just need to create some curiosity and generate some interest about you as a candidate, and you do that by keeping your CV intriguing, interesting. You give them lots of good information, interesting information, but you don't give them everything. So to wrap up, 10 top tips to building a super strong CV that will get you into interviews, increase your chances of getting into interviews, and hopefully land you the jobs that you want. First, structure is key. Second, no typos. Third, every line should serve a purpose. The fourth top tip is ask, so what? What does this bullet point mean? What does this information mean? Fifth top tip is keep your CV, try and keep it to 1 page, at most 2 pages. Top tip number 6, extracurricular activities. Make sure you have them, make sure you stress why they make you different, why they differentiate you. Top tip number 7, results. Say what you achieved in your previous experiences. Top tip number 8, use bullet points for impact. Remember that structure we spoke about, powerful verb, skill learned, example, result. Top tip number 9, key action words and phrases. Look at the job descriptions on the website, use those in your CV. And last but not least, top tip number 10, tease the employer. Hope that was useful for you. If you do those things, I guarantee you your CV will be ahead of the competition. If you need more advice on CVs, I run a consulting organization which is www.officialcvdoctor.com, helping lots of people, students, graduates, experienced professionals. Check the link which is below, click on the website. I do CV consultations, CV recreations, feedback, lots of services, and not just limited to CVs. So check out the website below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you found it useful. Share this with someone that you think might find it useful, and thanks for watching. Peace.